Everyone. My name is Michelle Levy. I'm the Assistant Director of Graduate Business Career Services, and I have my colleague Marianne Nguyen on the call as well, who's going to be managing the technical aspects for the program. But thank you and welcome everyone to the Get Hired MBA Advisory Board Career Panel. So this is put on by Graduate Business Career Services. So at GBCS, our mission is to support you through your career journey. We encourage you to schedule an appointment with us through Beach Connect or explore the many tools we have available on our GBCS Career Resources Canvas site. Before we get started, I'd like to mention that tonight's panel is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube for any students that weren't able to join us. And we're very fortunate to be joined by this evening by members of our MBA Advisory Board. They bring a wide range of knowledge and expertise across industries, and we truly appreciate their time and insight today. So here's how tonight will flow. So our panelists will begin by sharing their perspectives on key career topics such as skills development, networking, mentorship, and career strategies. Afterward, you'll have the opportunity to join breakout rooms for more individual conversation with the panelists. There'll be more small breakout rooms depending on who is in each room. If you have any questions for the full panel, please hold them till the end of the discussion, where we'll address them at that time. So without further ado, we are going to get us started with our panel. I'm just going to stop the share. Okay. Okay, perfect. So our first question for our panelists is please introduce yourself, including your name, title, company, and very briefly about what you do. Also, outside of work, what's one hobby or interest or fun fact about you that students might not know by looking at your LinkedIn profile? So let's first go to Sean for the first introduction.
Yeah, sounds good. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sean Boatman. I'm Operations Administrator at Farmers and Merchants Bank. What that title means in a nutshell is I pretty much oversee about 4 departments, and we really focus on the operational governance of the bank. So anything in the branches, anything along the back office departments. So most of the things operationally they're getting done there, I'm involved in or kind of spearheading. So lots to do, keeps me busy. Fun fact or hobby of mine, I love films and movies, so I watch a bajillion of them. I have a little film club that I organize, and I'm pretty good with trivia, but please don't test me in the breakout room later. That's about it for me, so thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Let's next go to Kaylin.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Kaylin. I am the Employee Experience and Internal Communications Manager with Terran Orbital, and I do all sorts of a wide array of different duties for my company. So I do handle the employee experience when it comes to the employee resource groups, the clubs, rewards and recognitions. I also manage all of our emails for the company, internal and external, all of our social media. But I am also a lone wolf when it comes to our learning and development department. So I run all of our learning and development and professional development opportunities, as well as manage our public web store. So lots of hats that I wear that aren't necessarily encompassed in my job title. Outside of work, I read a lot. I read probably 3 to 4 books a week. So that's probably my hobby, and something most people wouldn't know by looking at me. Well, I was born in South Africa, and I originally spoke 5 languages, and none of them were English. And now I only speak English. So that's my fun fact.
Wow, I'm impressed by that 3 to 4 books a week. I'm lucky if I get through one in a year. So, but I'm like Sean, I watch a lot of TV and movies. But so thank you so much. Up next, let's go to Kurt.
My name is Kurt Brower. I was the senior buyer with the city of Newport Beach. I did retire about 3 years ago. What the senior buyer did or does, they actually have 2 of them now. I purchased all of the goods and services for the city. And that was anything from the 1,200 items in our central warehouse to vehicles and equipment and everything in between. It was very fascinating work. There was also a lot of supply chain work as well, especially during the pandemic. That was a lot of fun. But after 35 years, I decided it was time to get out of there, which I did. As far as something interesting, I really enjoy music. I love jazz and blues. And for a number of years on campus, I handled all of the artists at the Long Beach Blues Festival. So I got to work with a number of people like Chuck Berry, John Lee Hooker, Macy Gray, the Allman Brothers, the Black Crowes, and that was a blast. It was all volunteer, so as long as we were having fun, we were back every year. And I think we did it for 16 years, so it was very enjoyable.
Wow, that sounds great. A lot of good artists there. Thank you, Kurt. Up next, let's go to Baron.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name's Baron Effenberger. I work for a company called Caltrol. We represent a global industrial automation company here in the Southwest. So that's kind of measure, monitor, control molecules and electrons. I could be anywhere from, I'll be in a rare earth mine in Arizona later this week. And then next week, I'm going to be back down here at life cycle pharmaceutical companies and everything in between. So broad industry exposure in that regards. So hobby, I would say backpacking, camping. I recently got back from a trip in Banff up in Alberta, Canada. Did a couple nights hiking around the valleys out there. It was pretty amazing. And then something you might not be able to guess about me is I lived on a sailboat for a few years. So that was different and fun.
Nice. Thank you, Baron. And finally, let's go to Caitlin.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Caitlin Sanchez. I am the Public Safety and Emergency Manager for the City of Carson. What that means is I am a liaison between all legs of our community here in the city. So residential, commercial, industrial, being a liaison between the Sheriff's Department, Fire Department, and the city. So anytime we have any nuisance activity or quality of life issues or just concerns about general crime and well-being, I am the liaison to work with our law enforcement officers through Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department and internally through our civilian code enforcement officer teams to resolve those issues. And then I also have the responsibilities of emergency management, which includes getting our community ready and prepared to respond to emergencies, whether they're natural or man-made. And a fun fact about me you won't find on LinkedIn is all of my beautiful sourdough bread posts that I love to make because I'm an amateur sourdough bread baker. Thank you, pandemic. It's not as easy as it looks on all the TikTok videos if you're interested. It is a lot of work and flour gets everywhere. So just a word of advice if that's a hobby you're interested in. But thank you so much for being here tonight. Really appreciate everybody.
Yes, well, thank you again to our panelists, and they all serve on our MBA advisory board to help impact the student experience here at Cal State Long Beach. Again, we have a wide variety of experiences, job functions, industry, so really excited for them to share advice with you during the session and also in the one-on-one networking time. So we're going to jump right into our questions. So what skills do you see MBA and master students needing to develop while studying for their MBA or master's? And Baron, let's start with you.
All right. Thanks, Michelle. So, I think when I think about the MBA program and kind of my experience in the MBA program, I think it's important to recognize, the MBA is kind of like a generalist degree, right? So you're going to get exposure to all the different aspects of business, right? And I think it's important to appreciate that, right? So say if you're into finance, it's important that you pay attention to HR as well, right? And I think the reason being is when you come into the job marketplace, right, you're going to have to interact with all those different verticals inside the business. I don't think I mentioned it in my intro, but I do business development, so I'm in sales. And believe it or not, I have to talk to every single different group inside my company in order to make sure that we're getting everything done in the way we need to support our customers. So I think communication and just really kind of honing in on even the topics you might not like.
Definitely. Communication is the key to everything in every business, no matter. So, Sean, what skills have you seen that students need to develop while studying towards their advanced degree?
Yeah, I think in addition to kind of being more cross-functional, but really just change management. Learning how to deal with and I assume everyone's looking to get into management. Is really guide and lead changes as they occur, and that can be, technology will shift, things will come your way, your industry is going to change, process improvements will always be there that you need to make and you need to be on top of, and it's not only just knowing how to navigate those and then roll those out, but also to be an agent of change and really get people to get on board with what you're trying to do. So, kind of anticipating what's coming, being ready for it, but then also knowing, how to sell that and get the value of it around the organization. Because, as Baron said, most of what you're not going to operate in a silo when you get into these bigger companies, and you're going to have, I laugh, but I come to the table with the same 8 to 10 people most of the time on some of the biggest things we do, because it's the people that have to be there on their area of the business. And we all got goals and agendas, and we got to make sure we're all working together to get them done. So, yeah, change management's a big one in my opinion.
Yeah, change is the only thing that's constant these days. And Kurt, like, what skills have you seen that students need to build in their degree?
So first of all, I need to qualify. I have a master's degree in public administration versus business administration. The primary differences, obviously, we're dealing with public policy, and thank goodness, not as much math as what MBA students go through. So I was very thankful for that. We talk a lot about soft skills. Baron mentioned communication. Communication is huge. For so long, I saw younger people coming in, even with master's degrees from all different fields, who could not write an email, who could not carry on a conversation, who could not do a Zoom meeting constructively. That is huge. You have to be able to communicate. You have to be able to write. You have to be able to get your point across in a succinct manner without going on. Same with verbal communication. They don't want stories, they want answers, the people that you're talking to. So those soft skills you have to develop while you're a student, and you have to continue to work on them, especially as you get into your career and you rise to different positions in your career. A lot of people need to speak in front of a city council or a committee or a commission, and they can't do it. They lock up. So getting together with people and working through a lot of that stuff, especially if you're not comfortable with it, you've got to be comfortable with it. You got to be able to take some note cards or a sheet of paper and get up in front of, a few hundred people and deliver an address. Get your point across, get the people you want to, everybody, like Michelle is shaking their head. Yes, I get it.
Mhm.
So to me, that's the important stuff. All those soft skills. You're going to have the technical skills with your degree, like everybody else. But if you develop all those soft skills, especially communication, and you stand out, they're going to notice that, and they're going to remember that as well.
Definitely. So that's why you do all those group presentations, for those communication skills and working with people. Okay, so our next question focuses on, with so many qualified candidates applying for roles, what specific actions or strategies have you seen that help someone stand out during the job search process? So, Kaylin, let's go to you first.
So I think the strategy that has helped the most with me or with my mentees from the junior mentoring program over at Cal State Long Beach has been to tailor your resume specific to the company that you're applying to or that you're interested in, making sure that you're using the company language that's listed in their job description, because that is going to not only go over a little bit better in their applicant tracking system, it's also going to show that you've actually put time and energy into reading through and looking at those small details on how to make yourself more in tune to what they're looking for and what they're hoping to see in a candidate. So I would say that's the biggest piece of advice. The other one would be making sure that any background or any accomplishments that you're hoping to share, that you're actually connecting those to what they're looking for in a job search, as opposed to just throwing something out there and not being able to circle back to what the point is that you're trying to make, or actually connecting it to what they're hoping to gain from a candidate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just want to reiterate that I've been on many hiring committees, and I can tell those that have taken the time to customize versus not. And I know it's like, oh, it's a lot of work to customize, but it's going to help you in the long run rather than sending out 100 easy apply, no customization overall. So Caitlin, what have you seen that has helped candidates stand out in a positive way during the job search process?
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. And to build on what my colleague Kaylin has led with is a couple of points. And this is coming from the perspective of a hiring manager that hires across the company, or I'm sorry, across our city for a variety of positions. One is always do your homework on who you are applying for, what their mission and vision and values are, and try to emulate those in any type of communications that you're having. It is still very appreciated by hiring managers when you do a introductory letter with your application, not just submitting an application that's kind of vague and you're just hoping for the best. I will say any job worth having is a job worth investing the time in on the forefront, because your hiring managers and HR who's screening these applications can see right through it. There is a time and place for AI, and using AI to build your resume and submit it without you going through and really personalizing it and really making it authentic to who you are is going to get you immediately swiped left on. Nobody wants any AI minded or just non-authentic employees to join their organization. We see too much of that because our application processes are almost overly automated right now. And so doing anything you can to really stand out as a genuine candidate is going to get you really far. And I like to tell my mentees two things. One, shoot for the stars so that you can land on a cloud if you don't get the job you're looking for, but also be reasonable in your aspirations. If you do not have supervisory experience, know that you're looking for either an entry-level management job or a supervisory job. Like Kurt said in his previous answer to the last question, those soft skills are super valuable. You want to take the time to develop those and include those on your resume, because at the end of the day, all of us are just people that want to hire people that get along really well with each other. And the fact that you have a degree shows that you know most of the technical components of this. Now we want to make sure that we're bringing in a good quality person into our organization, so that authenticity and applying for the right position are key components as you are searching for jobs to apply for.
Definitely. And I do want to just give a quick plug. If you are looking to customize your resume with the help of AI, but not just using AI, we have JobScan at Cal State Long Beach. Students have free access to it. So if you haven't heard of it, email GBCS. Marianne can put our email in the chat and we can let you know more about that. But thank you, Kaylin and Caitlin, for that great advice. So networking. We always hear about networking. It's essential for career success, but it can mean different things to different people. And I'm sure it's very confusing when students just hear, oh, just network. And what does that mean? So how do you personally define networking, and what specific strategies or practices have worked best for you in building meaningful connections? So, Kurt, if you want to talk a little bit about your networking strategy.
Sure. Well, as far as networking, what we're doing right now is an excellent opportunity to network. I like in-person networking. And back in the day when I really needed a network, we didn't have Zoom or LinkedIn or any of these things that are available now. But you've got to get out of this digital mentality. If you already have a job or a career somewhere, the first thing you need to do is know what you're doing. You've got to have your skills down pat so you can have a conversation with a potential mentor or supervisor, or even someone maybe that's in a different department that you're thinking about moving to. It's not just about showing up and throwing your business card to everybody. You shake hands, you have that conversation. Again, we go back to that communication. It's imperative that you're able to talk to people one-on-one as well as being able to get in front of a group. But the networking itself, for me, becomes more personal, and it's peer-to-peer networking. It's, potentially, like I said, with a mentor or a supervisor. You've got to be able to get your point across. You've got to be open. You've got to show, especially when you're looking at a potential mentor, you've got to convey excitement. You don't want to be blasé. You don't want to be, just kind of not necessarily off-putting, but you want to have that smile and that just like, I'm here for the long haul. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to meet you, and keep it positive. And like I say, for me, it's always been about that personal networking versus, not that this isn't good, this is fantastic, because you get a lot of people in one place at one time. But if we're talking one-on-one networking, personal, good communication, like the parents always tell us, that strong handshake, you look the person in the eye and you have just a good, positive conversation with them. That's the best first step to a good network with both peer-to-peer and supervisor or mentor peer networking.
Yeah, so networking, just conversations, just communicating with people. Doesn't always have to be in a formal setting, which I think people always think of. But Baron, you're in business development. Networking is probably part of your job, but what strategies do you utilize for networking?
I think Kurt did a really good job kind of breaking it down there. But the first thing I'd like to say is when you think of your network, right? Most people get stuck in the mindset of just thinking about it in a professional sense. But your network is really everybody you know in any capacity, right? And so um, you never know what you might find looking around your network. And your goal should be to grow your network strategically, right? If that's in the realm of education or a specific industry you might be interested in, right? You need to be participating in those the places where people that could add value to your network might be. So it could be like an industry forum or a specific setting. And when you go to these things, you want to, first you want to participate, you want to be there, right? You want to show up, but you want to participate, you want to be as engaged as you can. And you want to have some insights to bring and some good questions, right? So do your research, know who might be there, know what they might have going on inside their organizations, or if there's policy that might be coming down that could be affecting everybody, right? Be prepared to ask those good questions. And then also, I just say, like, the most important thing that comes to mind when I think of networking is it's up to you to add value, right? Like, the more value you add in these environments, the more people are going to be interested in helping you. And um, if they hear of a job, your name's going to pop up. Um, Networking is not always about what you can get from other people. It's what you can bring to the table as well, right? The more you can help others in your network, the stronger your network's going to be.
Definitely a two-way street. And, being in a grad program, you have that to offer. Because sometimes I think students like, well, what do I have to offer, right? You're on the cutting edge of education, research, knowledge that you can offer to people in the field. So, great. Kaylin, if you want to maybe talk about your approach to networking or kind of how you go about networking.
Yeah, so for me, networking has always been about being intentional, making sure that what you're looking for is really about quality over quantity, about making sure that when you're talking to someone, you're looking to gain something. It's not just, hey, nice to meet you, never talk again. It's not about having 1,000 people that you've just met if none of them can remember what they spoke to you about or anything like that. You want to really create that connection, make sure it's intentional, create that depth. And one thing that I've learned is just like the other panelists have been talking about is you want to be more than just a business card. You want to be more than just a name. If this is the first time you're meeting someone and you haven't had a chance to research them, ask them about themselves. People love talking about themselves. If it's someone that you know you're going to be interacting with, that you have a chance of interacting with, do some a little background check. I'm not talking about go full internet stalk, but just, hey, what industry are they in? Where do they work? What's a little bit of their background? That way you have a jumping off point. And the other big part, and this is a huge one for me, and it's very difficult for me, is making that eye contact. So that's one that I've had to practice working on. I still struggle to this day. And I can see it in other people who are really like, oh no, I need to be making that eye contact. And it makes such a big difference. Even if it's hard for you, people can tell like you're making that effort with them. So be intentional, put in that effort, create that depth, go for the quality over the quantity.
Yeah, definitely quality over quantity. I think that's a theme overall with, even applying, right? Like quality over quantity too. So thank you so much. So we're going to transition a little bit to like, what are some common mistakes that you often see early career professionals make during the job search or interviews as you are often hiring managers and kind of see it in real time. So Sean, what have you seen some red flags per se from candidates?
Biggest red flag is really hyping yourself up a little bit too much. So, be honest, be practical about where you're coming from. Don't, common question I used to ask years ago of entry level people just doing data entry, like, how are you in Excel 1 to 10, 10 being a professional? And everyone would say 9, 8. And I'm like, I really don't think that's accurate. Like, I think you're probably, and if you knew everything Excel could do, you would never give me that answer because there's so much it can do that I would put myself maybe at a 5, and I use it all the time. So be honest, but also hype up the things that you do well and you do have and the skills you can bring. But I think it's sometimes when you want to sell yourself, it's common to kind of exaggerate a little bit too much. And that is something that you're basically lying. So as a manager and employer, I'm kind of like, nope, like I can't trust you. I don't even want to continue talking. And it does a lot more bad than it does any good. So just be as honest as you can about your true skills, your true experience. And then if you have gaps, you highlight why you can fill those gaps and what potential you have to fill those gaps. Not that you should be because you've done it all. You haven't, so just be honest.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. Honesty is the best policy. You'd be surprised with people, especially with ChatGPT. I feel like they're almost over exaggerates things that they do overall. So, Caitlin, what are some kind of red flags that you've seen in the job search or interview process that early career professionals are making?
Thank you, Michelle. During the job search process specifically, I tend to notice that there is almost this expectation that it's going to be quick and easy because you might be looking for that first real job or your entry level position. And I can assure you that it is nothing but. I just want to share personally, it took me over 5 years to get a full-time entry level position into local government. And I had to work multiple part-time jobs to build up, my savings to be able to afford this lifestyle. But it's worth it in the end. So I just want to reiterate that don't expect this to be quick. Don't expect this to be easy, even if it's a job that you consider yourself overly qualified for. The competition in Southern California is sky high. We have some of the best minds in the area. Like, look how many of you are here from the beach, and you guys are going to be going for potentially similar job markets. So just know that, you need to commit to it. This is going to be a routine part of your day, looking for new jobs to apply for, researching the company, updating your resume and your cover letter to be specific to the job that you're applying for. So just take the time to invest into it, and it'll be well worth it in the end. And then in the interview process, interviewers really want to get to know you as a person. We have already read your resume, and the fact that you are sitting in front of us for very likely, by the time you see me, a second interview, which means you've already passed the skills assessment portion, so we know you can do the job. Now you're at the point where you are selling yourself. And so again, I go back to my previous answer of how important it is to be genuine, but I caution everybody to be very genuine, careful with their genuinity about how difficult the job search is for them. You never want to share that this is your 10th, 11th, 12th interview and you're just looking to get your foot in somewhere. I cannot tell you how much of a turnoff that is to your potential future employer. We also are not really invested in hearing how this job that you're applying for is a step for where you want to go pretty quickly. That doesn't do you any favors because we really are looking for people who are going to be invested with us for a while. Plus, you owe it to yourself if this is a new industry that you're in or you're a new position that you're in, you really need to learn the intricacies of both the job and how that company works in totality, not just for that position. So I warn everybody about using language like that during their interviews, and also just emphasize on please don't come into interviews nervous. There is actually no right or wrong answers. We really just want to see who you are as a person.
Definitely. A lot of good info shared there. Hope everyone is taking notes or just mentally remembering everything. So, Kaylin, what red flags or mistakes do you see that early career professionals or just professionals are making in the job or search or interview process?
I'm going to go back to making sure that you understand the company that you're looking to get on with, because the thing that I'm seeing now is the expectations of the applicant don't necessarily match with the expectations of a company. So if you're applying to tech, it's most likely not going to be 9 to 5. It's probably going to be closer to 13, 14-hour days. And so if you're not looking to be in a position where there's a ton of overtime, if you're not looking to work weekends, like make sure that you have all of your deal breakers lined out for yourself. That way, when you're looking at a company, you're not immediately applying to somewhere that is like, oh, well, everything that you're hoping to avoid is everything that our company is about. So really just doing your due diligence when it comes to looking into companies and looking at the jobs and what they're asking for and what it is that you're willing to commit and put into that job, into that career. And I guess that kind of comes down to what is it that you're looking to gain? What are you looking to get out of something? Because sometimes, and I'm very much a don't marry your job type of person, because you never know what's going to happen the next day. But the more you put in, the more you're going to get out of somewhere. So try and be reasonable with your deal breakers, with your expectations, with what you're looking for, and be malleable. Make sure that you're able to be flexible and that you can accommodate what they're looking for while they're trying to accommodate what you're looking for.
Definitely, definitely. Great advice there. So the panelists have talked a little bit about mentors, mentees, being mentors or being mentees, and just wanted to talk a little bit about what role does mentorship play in career success, and how can students find and build strong mentor relationships, whether that is on their own or through the school. Just a quick plug, in the spring, we do have the Graduate Business Mentor Program, which these fine individuals are mentors on. So, Baron, like, what role does mentorship play in career success, do you think?
So I think mentorships plays a huge role if you want to be successful in your careers, right? Long term, and even short term, right? I think class is great, but it's really important to talk to people that have been there and done it and, kind of gone down the road that you're trying to go down, right? And then going back to networking, your mentor can be one of the strongest people in your network as well, right? They might have the connections that you need to get to where you're trying to go. And then they'll also have the advice to be able to help you navigate that as well. So I think Michelle brought up the career services mentorship program. I think everybody should take advantage of that. And then again, going back to the networks, right? Like get out there into those industry groups that you want to be a part of and talk to people and ask if you could follow up with them on more questions in the future. You might be able to develop a mentorship that way.
Yeah, you never know unless you ask, right? Like if people are looking for that. So, Caitlin, what role do you feel like mentorship plays in career success?
Yeah, so all excellent advice from Baron. And just to add to that, I caution everybody that the road ahead can be treacherous and full of some heavy emotions. So even looking at your mentor in a capacity of a coach and a cheerleader is going to be really helpful. I can personally tell you, I was not part of a mentorship program when I was going through my undergrad, and it was really tough. Luckily, I landed a job in local government, and my supervisor just happened to take me under his wing and kind of served as my mentor through getting acquainted with local government. But I can tell you that that was kind of like by luck. Here you have an opportunity to receive that by design. So I really, really, really encourage everybody to sign up for the mentorship program because you are already connected with industry leading experts here with those connects that can also help you with your networking component. And I'll tell you that getting a mentor doesn't come naturally. You're probably going to have to go out and seek one unless you just happen to be in the right place at the right time. But also be aware if that's happening, not all mentors are going to be right for you. You might come across people who really want to give you advice and help you see things through their eyes, but that's not the career move that you're looking for. Don't be afraid to say no, thank you. Or just know when you have received enough information from them to fit your needs for the moment. And you are never too old to receive mentorship. I still, now nearly 17 years into my career, look to the guidance of others who have been there, done that, because I can learn from what their experiences were. So you never reach a point where you don't need a shoulder to stand on or some helpful insight to have. Even right now, all of us, I'm sure on this panel, have people that are trusted resources that we reach out to. So just know mentorship doesn't end when you do get your first full-time job or the first job that you're really hoping to land. That's really the beginning. And then once you get really, really good at it, don't forget to give back, okay? Because we want to lift each other up through this process.
Yes, definitely. So again, students, you'll be getting information in January regarding the mentor program. So please keep a lookout in your email for that. So what advice do you have for graduate students who aspire to move into management roles within their own company or a different company? Kurt, what do you recommend for those students?
What I saw, especially in the public sector, was you need technical skills. If you are going to be a supervisor or a manager of a department within a company, you need the technical knowledge to begin with. But that doesn't mean that the best technician is going to make a good or great manager. So many times I saw, the best accountant, the best analyst, and they're like, okay, well, then they're going to be a good manager. So they put them into these management roles, and it is a train wreck. The best thing, I think, if you are looking, and this goes back to something Caitlin said earlier, don't necessarily go for a high-level management position without any experience. obviously you want to look at a supervisory position before a management position. You also want to take advantage of any opportunities. If you're in a large department and they have a number of smaller breakout projects and they look for someone to lead that, jump in, look for those opportunities to lead a smaller group of people and be able to not only learn, but impress those individuals that are going to make the decisions about supervisors and managers going forward. And then, of course, use your mentors, use other supervisors or managers that you respect their style, and ask them how they developed it. There was a backlash with the technical part of it and taking great technicians and making them managers. And then for a while, they stepped back and said, okay, well, we'll take a manager and we'll put them into a position where they're not necessarily the most technically sound, like taking someone with zero IT experience and putting them in charge of an IT division. Another train wreck. So it's a combination of the two. You've got to come in with the technical experience and knowledge, and then you have to develop those supervisor and managerial skills. You've got to be able to work with people. You got to be able to work with difficult people. And you've got to be able to reach out to those that are already doing it and say, hey, what's your secret? That worked for me. And that seemed to be, for a lot of people, the most successful way to become not only a good or great supervisor, but at some point, a great manager as well.
Definitely. And Sean, what advice do you have for students that want to go into management?
Well, Kurt covered most of it. I mean, that was a pretty thorough answer, to be honest. But to add on to that, I would say, and we kind of talked about it a bit earlier, but understand your business, and understand your company, know it holistically, get out of the silos, understand what it is, understand the culture of that company, because it's very important when we do succession planning as managers and we look for the future. We're always looking, this business needs to run on without us. It needs to continue to be successful when we all hopefully retire and have a great time, play tons of golf or whatever we decide to do. We want to make sure that it's going to be in good hands. So whatever you do, you definitely take those opportunities, but demonstrate that you know the company, where we're going or where we should be going, the core of what the industry wants or demands. That makes a lot of change, because that's when that's very important, because then when they want to make a change or they want to take a chance on you, they at least know that, at the core, you understand the business. And if they put you into a different area, or maybe they, put you in a management role that you're not 100% good at, at least they know the values of the company and the industry are going to go with you when you go into that. A lot of people throughout my career, I've been in my company over 20 years, and I've seen a lot of folks where their name has been mentioned multiple times over multiple years, and it was just finding the right place for them to get in and where they could succeed. And it's because every time they demonstrated they were a leader, they were hungry for it, they knew the company, they knew where we were going, they had good ideas. So respectfully speak out of turn. I say that to people a lot, like, don't you have to speak up the ladder and show that you're valuable too, and you have good ideas. And then know when you need to just sit down and say, okay, that's out of my league. That's theirs. I'll stay in my lane here. But you got to kind of throw those out there when you get the opportunity.
Great, thank you. So we're on our final question before we go into the individual breakout session. So hopefully, if there's any other questions you want to fully follow up with the panelists, they'll have their own individual breakout room where you can go and talk with them. But we're going to wrap up with, what's one piece of advice you wish you would have received while starting your career? So I'll go to Baron first.
Thanks, Michelle. I would say, it's more than just your day job, right? Volunteer, get involved, right? Build that network. That could be by volunteering to do things in your community, right? That could be taking additional roles inside your organization, volunteer on a committee. Um, you know, Things like the advisory boards are great opportunities as well to build some leadership experience and get a different view into how other organizations might work. I think all of that is going to build your resume, build your network, and build your skill set throughout your career. So it's not just extracurriculars in school. Take that mindset and bring it into your work life as well.
Great, thank you. Kaylin, what's one piece of advice?
My piece of advice would be to understand that your value and your worth is tied to the knowledge that you can provide, the trust that others have in you, and the ability to have other people advocate for you. And that it's not tied to the number of emails that are sitting in your inbox. It's not the number of meetings sitting on your calendar. Having those strong connections with people is really what's going to make you successful. And being able to work cross departmentally and creating those bonds with other people in other departments is really going to take you a lot further than you may think it will. Some of my mentors have come from different departments that I never thought I'd work with. And so never discount someone, never count someone out as having information or knowledge that you think isn't going to be relevant to you, because it's going to be a lot more relevant than you think, and it'll give you a wider perspective and a greater perspective on the industry, the company, what you have to offer, where you can go with your career.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. Sean, what's your one piece of advice?
Yeah, I would say especially, coming out of business school, where you start or where you're at does not define your entire career. I think you've heard a lot here. It takes time. You have to prove yourself. You have to go through some things. At the end of the day, we all have bills. We all have to, we have to get an income. We need some money coming in. You're going to take what you can and you're going to move with it and just, find the value in everything that you do and get as much out of it as you possibly can. And when an opportunity comes, you take it and you move forward as best you can. But yeah, don't expect it's going to happen right away. But if you put in the time, like in my own career, I started in my bank as a teller, as an entry level teller. There were some great opportunities as the company grew, and every single one of them that came up, I threw my name into the mix and said I would love to take that opportunity. And then now I'm operations administrator, and now I have too much work, and I wish I would never made that decision years ago. But yeah, it does take time. It pays off, and the people you want to work with, the companies you want to work at, they will see that and they will encourage you and support you because they want to work with somebody easy to work with who knows what they're doing and makes everything go well too. So they will see it. So.
Thank you. Caitlin?
The piece of advice for everybody, and one that has served me very well, is say yes to all of the opportunities that serve you in a growth capacity, especially when your employer is asking for volunteers for a project, especially if it's new to you or outside of what you do directly. You are very rarely going to get opportunities to expand your knowledge and skill sets beyond what your current set of duties are, because we call that working out of class. But when employers are asking for volunteers, that means that we really, really need somebody and we'll take anybody. And then that's an opportunity for you to really show your enthusiasm and your commitment to the employer and get your name out there and work for some new people and get some really cool experience that you might not have otherwise. And I just want to forewarn you, be prepared for that to come at OT, aka your own time. Don't expect to get paid for every single minute you're on the clock, because a lot of things are not going to fall that way, especially if it's something that you volunteered for. But that experience and that networking and that communication with new divisions of your company is going to serve you beyond what that dollar value is for that project. So don't be afraid to say yes, as long as you're doing so smartly and for the right reasons.
Awesome, thank you. And finally, Kurt, what's one piece of advice you would give?
I think we're going to make this unanimous. It's all about the opportunities you have, the opportunities you make. That would have been one piece of advice I would have loved to have had. I was raised very old school. You keep your head down, you do your job, you do it well, and people will notice. Yeah, not so much. They tend to take advantage of individuals in that position. Once I started taking advantage of the opportunities that either came my way or were kind of out there, and I jumped at the opportunity to, like Caitlin said, work out of my class, that's when things started happening. So everyone touched on it. It's all about utilizing, taking advantage of those opportunities, whether you think it's appropriate or, out of your comfort zone, even if it doesn't lead to necessarily a position of greater responsibility or higher salary, which we're always looking for. It might be an opportunity to learn something outside of your silo. We talked about silos as well. Those opportunities are there, and if they're few and far between, make them. And those opportunities are usually what end up getting people into, whether it's a lateral or a position, they're moving up the chain. That seems to work. And I will back everyone that said everything about that. And like I said, make it unanimous. Opportunities are where it's at.
Yes, well, thank you to all our MBA Advisory Board members and panelists for sharing your experience and insight. I'm going to put into the chat our event evaluation. We'll also be emailing this to you afterwards. But now that's the formal panel. Now we're going to get into the networking, and to echo what everyone says, take advantage of this opportunity to have kind of more one-on-one. You'll be in small group settings depending on who's in the room. There might be more than one, but to kind of introduce yourself or get to know the panelists more and ask more of those individual questions that you might have. So with that being said, I'm going to open up the breakout rooms. So let me do so real quick. You'll